Hey, this is Victor with VentoBot. In today's episode of Don't Kill the Messenger, we're going to go over 3 ways to leave any business event with credit cards instead of just business cards. And if you're anything like me, I bet that is more appealing than just having a stack of business cards that you will just end up throwing away anyways. Now, before we begin, go on over to ventobot.com/book to get the book that we take our private clients through. Just cover shipping. We'll send it right over to you to generate never-ending leads and what to do with the people that you get from these events. Now, today, I have Alexis Caldicott, and she's going to talk about those 3 ways. Welcome, Alexis.
Hi, Victor. Welcome as well. And I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I love talking about this.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited. We met it feels like it's so long ago now, like May of last year.
Yeah.
And at an event, and you were sponsoring. I was just an attendee. And I feel like with what you're going to show us today, I could have definitely just take a time machine back and come back and maximize that event even more.
Yeah, that's all right. Now you know.
Yeah, right. I'll do that moving forward. Every event I'll go to, I'll make sure I walk away with credit cards instead of just business cards. So
Awesome.
now, before we begin, just want to make sure that everyone understands who you are and what you do. Like, I know that you help business owners to walk away with 5 to 6 figures from any event that they go to, and not just whether they're running it themselves, they're an attendee, or they're sponsoring, correct?
Correct. Yeah. What we really do is we teach business owners how to strategically look at how they can use events where all their leads are already gathering, and then use that opportunity to walk away with 5 to 6 figures or multiple 6 figures sold, whether that's hosting their own event or by going to someone else's.
Yeah, and I know that's a big thing. And I know for me, I started in just becoming attendees. I'm now moving into the space of sponsoring, and then eventually I'd love to host my own event, maybe if it makes sense for our business. But I want to know, let's kind of dive right in. What are those 3 ways that everyone can kind of really walk away and start maximizing on any business event that they go to?
Yeah, great. So the most important thing to realize with this is that this is a process,
Yeah.
right? So like with anything, like you can't just go out and wing it. You got to know, right, the steps on how to make this happen. It doesn't just magically happen. Their wallets don't magically open. There's a process that you have to follow, boxes you got to check. So I'm going to kind of work backwards with this and kind of count down to one of the number 1 things that they have to start with. But so we'll start with number 3. Number 3 is you have to know how to identify the most profitable way to participate at an event. So
Okay.
what I mean by that is there's 3 main ways, right? We call them cash from conferences strategies. There's 3 ways, because once you know how to do this and use these 3 strategies, it's literally like creating cash from conferences. So cash from conference strategy number 1 is just going as an attendee. And that one is a big one that people miss out on and don't think of because they think they have to be a speaker or a sponsor. But when you know how to do it properly, you can go to an event as an attendee like I did and leave with a $15,000 client.
Man,
Right?
that's insane. Who wouldn't want to do that? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And then the next strategy would be being a speaker, right? We all know that. We've heard of that one. But how do you maximize it, whether you're allowed to sell or not? And
Sure.
then number 3 is being a sponsor, right? That's where the big bucks can come in. That's where, myself and my clients have closed $100,000 or more at the event, not just from follow-up, at the
I
event
like that.
itself.
Yep. Make your ROI back at the event and then maximize it on the back end too.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Right.
love it.
And that's where you kind of come in, right? Is the follow-up part.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's kind of talk about the attendee part, because I know the majority of the listeners will probably be somewhere in between, like looking for speaking and kind of in between sponsoring and then definitely attending events. So is there a specific type of event? Can it be like a networking event? Could it be like a 3-day conference? Does it have to be a certain type, or can you kind of implement this for any type of event really?
Yeah,
Or
great
business
question.
event?
Yeah, great question, Victor. So there are principles that apply to whether you're going to like an hour or 2-hour networking event, or you're going to a multi-day event or conference. So these strategies that I teach work best when it's a full day or a 2-day or a 3-day, because you get to
Okay.
build more intimacy, more time, more experience with people,
Right. Makes
more
sense.
trust, right? But even with just a 1-hour or 2-hour event, the tips and principles that I teach will still help you close clients. So I actually have kind of like this, I wouldn't say secret, but like magical sentence that I use when I'm at a networking event. And so
Oh,
far it's
man.
100% works getting people to book a consult.
Oh, let us know. Spill the tea. Come on. Let's go.
Okay.
Know what this is.
Yeah. So what this is, first, I want to set the context that you already have had a great conversation with the person.
Okay.
Right? They're
Right. You
already
don't just walk up
curious.
to the person and be like, hey, do you want to buy my stuff? Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Right. Yeah. So you already had a great conversation. You knew how to be engaging, have great questions, and be present with them. Once you're able to do that, right? Here's the magical sentence. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Victor, imagine you and I were networking, we're having a great conversation, and you've asked me about what I do, and I've heard all about your pain and your struggles and everything and how long you've been dealing with that, blah, blah, blah. Right? So then the next thing I would say to you, Victor, is, Victor, I am loving our conversation, and I have a bunch of ideas for you that are flooding into my mind, and I'm super excited to share them with you. But I know you want to make the most out of your time here and connect with other people too. So how about we do this? Why don't we meet up for drinks after the event, maybe like around 4 or 5 o'clock for happy hour, and we can talk more then. How does that sound?
Oh, man. That's a killer one for sure. That's funny. I feel like I've done that unintentionally
Yeah.
sometimes, and like not realizing making that intentional. Like when you do have that conversation, and I feel like most people understand what that conversation feels like because they've been in that situation where like, man, I'm just clicking with this person, but like you kind of start to feel like I'm monopolizing their time, they're monopolizing my time, and we
Right.
can't maximize our use of the conference. So then you kind of just let it go. Like, hey,
Right.
I feel like most people come to like, that's where you do the business card exchange. You're like, hey, let's keep in touch. Kind of
Exactly.
deal. Oh,
Yeah.
that's
And you
genius.
miss out on a big opportunity. So when you can tell, like, okay, this is like my dream client, this person, I know I can crush it with them, I can help them, right? These are the people you want to use this sentence on, right?
Yeah.
Because you do want to be respectful of their time. You show them that, but you also show that like you have some great ideas for them and you can help them. And then you just present the opportunity. You have to be bold and you have to ask for the opportunity instead of just say, hey, let's connect, right? Because then you're in the endless follow-up of, phone tag and emails
Yeah.
and, so it's just, how about we do this? Why don't we meet up for blank around this time? Right? So it could be coffee, it could be for a call, it could be for lunch, whatever, fill in the blank. But based on the event that you're at, you ask them, when can we talk? Like then and there, while they're hot.
Yeah, no, definitely. So that is, I can't even get over the fact how genius that is and to be able to do something like that. So what would you say is the next step? So like now that we've understand we're talking to the most ideal client, the like top 4% of people that we want to really connect with and work with, what would be, how would we move into strategy number 2, or what would you do from there?
Yeah. So actually strategy number 2 touches on a little bit on what we kind of hinted at a minute ago, but in a deeper level. The problem that people run into and why they don't leave events with clients is they don't know their value proposition.
Oh,
And
okay. I get that. Yeah.
yeah, and they're glued to having the perfect elevator speech.
Yeah. And you're like, I
Right?
help people do this with that. And then, yeah, no,
Exactly.
I
Right,
get that.
right. Exactly. So people think that there's like these perfect magical words they have to come up with. And once they have these magic words, it's going to unlock their wallets. Right.
Yeah.
And, yeah. And
It's
that's
definitely
that's
relationship
not it.
building for sure.
Exactly. You have to have a real connection with the person and you have to show your value, right? That's what help opens their wallet. So what I mean by value proposition is it's a short, simple marketing statement to your ideal client that shows them what is the main reason why they should buy. Right.
Okay.
So
That makes sense. So you have, first, obviously you would make the invitation, and I completely agree with that. No one should be ever afraid to ask to work with somebody or move further along, because it's always a no or not right now, or it doesn't mean no forever. It just like, it doesn't make sense right now or not. And then that second thing, the second secret there is really about making sure that we understand what we bring to the table, not just like what we do. Because like for us, for example, like I do a lot of Facebook ads and messenger bots and chat bots. Like, cool. Who actually wants that? No one wants that. They want the end result, right? So that's kind of what you're getting at.
Yeah, well, and
What
it's really about how you position yourself, because if you're
right.
not able to have a conversation with people, people get stuck in like this robotic, I have to say it like this, I have to do it like that. And when
Right.
they do that, right, they end up confusing people, right? They're fumbling
Yeah.
over their words because they don't know what to say, or they go on and on and on, right? And people check out. And, as a result, they don't know how to have a conversation around what they do. So they're not natural with the other person. And when someone's not natural, right, and they're thinking about what do I say next, you can feel it. You can feel like they're kind of rigid. You're just not having a true, real interaction with the person on the other side. So you're not positioning yourself to use that magical sentence if you don't know how to have a conversation about your value and what you do.
Right. So it seems like they kind of build upon each other to ask that magical sentence at the very end and kind of move
Exactly.
further along with somebody.
Right.
Cool. So what is the next step? I'm loving this so far. Like, what would you say is the next kind of a stage or secret that you have to be able to maximize these events?
Yeah, well, I love this one because it's so simple. Doesn't mean it's easy, but it's so simple that when I have a conversation with people, even people that have a multi-six, even excuse me, a seven-figure company, they're not doing this, and they realize through a conversation that this is why they're not closing six figures at a sponsorship or at an event, is because of this one reason.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh. I'm like sitting at the edge of my seat right
I
now.
know,
I'm
I got
like,
to build the
I'm standing,
anticipation.
but I'm like, oh my God, I'm leaning in. I want to know what this is.
Hypothetically.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you have to know how to qualify events, and you have to know how to determine which are the best ones for your business. Again, it sounds so simple, but most people don't do it, or they don't know how to do it. They don't know where to start. So when I say qualify, I mean, it's not just knowing, hey, I hear my target market's there, I hear business owners are there, right? You need to have an actual qualification process where you can objectively look at the opportunity and weed out the events that maybe aren't the best one now, maybe later, or no, definitely not. So, you have to do your due diligence and have a process to qualify these events. I actually have a funny story if we have time, I can
Sure.
share.
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay, so I had a client who heard about this fantastic event with business owners at it, and they're business coaches. So they're like, oh, this is perfect. I need to go to this event. So they decide to go to this event just by hearing from other colleagues and people at their level. This is the event you got to be at. They booked the sponsorship, which was, I think, $3,000 or $4,000. They booked flights on the other side of the US. They're from New York. They flew to LA or something like that.
Yep.
For three people, for three team members, plus hotel, plus food, all the travel costs,
Oh
right?
yeah. Yep.
By the time it all added up, they're probably about 7 to 10K all in for the
Yeah.
sponsorship. They show up to this event, and what they found out is their sponsorship booth was in a totally separate, different room than the main event itself. So people, in order to connect with them, had to leave the building, walk outside, and go to a separate building to just go to where all the booths and the expo hall was.
Oh man.
So big strike number one, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Number two is, once they got there, they realized that this event was full of really one type of person. And there's no really other way to say it than hippies. They were
Then what?
hippies.
Hippie. Okay. That's funny.
Beautiful, you know what I mean? Like beautiful
Yeah.
people, all about energy, believe in the power of crystals. Nothing wrong with that in itself, but that's not who they were looking for.
Yeah, no,
Right?
definitely.
Yeah.
Man, I can't even imagine. I feel like, and I feel like without qualifying an event like that, um, you end up becoming completely shut down, and you don't open yourself up to new opportunities that where your potential audience could be and would be
Right.
more beneficial to you.
Right. Right.
So it's
Exactly.
important. Okay, so and I feel like I've done this early on in our early stages, where a lot of the events I was going to, and I feel a lot of people do this when they first start. Like several years ago, I would go to a lot of networking events. Like I would go
Mm-hmm.
to countless, and like I remember it was just taking time away from family. Like I missed
Yeah.
dinners, I missed bedtime, and like
It's a lot
something
of
that's very
time.
important to me. That's why I started the business in the first place, right? To be there for those times. And events like that, and then even when I started traveling to these places too, it was a lot of like, what am I really doing here? And I feel like that is probably the most important step, if not,
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, I would say definitely that is definitely the most important step. Then second would be that first secret that you shared with us, because
Yeah.
if people don't qualify, if you just start going to events just to go to events, I feel like you end up in this kind of endless cycle of like, what am I really doing? I'm not really
Right.
doing anything. I'm just going
Right.
to talk to people, I guess,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, number one, you end up wasting a ton of money, right?
yeah,
And time, right? And you're frustrated and
absolutely.
you're like, why the heck am I here? Why did I do this? And you're upset and frustrated instead of leaving the event psyched that you just closed clients.
Right.
Or you're missing out the opportunities where you could have made, $50,000, $100,000 at an event if you had used that money for your business more wisely. So it's really about, how do I make the most out of my opportunities, and how do I save myself some headache and heartache at the same time. That's why
Yeah.
it's so critical to qualify. And when I hear people say sponsorship doesn't work, speaking doesn't work, networking doesn't work, it's because they're not doing this and they don't know how to.
I
Yeah.
swear, if you met me like 3 years ago, you would have heard me say like, networking doesn't work, events don't work. I'm just going to do everything online.
I
Yeah,
hear
that
you.
was, that was me like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It was really funny. So then let's just recap really quick. What are those three, and if you had to like 2 minute, like fireside chat, like how would you say those three secrets to walk away with credit cards from event instead of just business cards?
Right. Okay. So we'll work backwards, right, from what we just heard, because the
Yeah.
first thing you have to do is you got to know how to qualify it.
Yeah.
You want to go where the leads are, but you got to make sure that where you're going are the best quality leads. So you got to know how to qualify the event, right? To
Yeah.
make sure it's the best one for your business. Everyone's business is different. And then number two, once you're there, you got to know how to have a conversation. You got to know how to have a conversation about the value you provide and why they should buy from you, and stop being glued to the perfect elevator speech. The elevator speech kills people. They
Okay.
freeze up. They don't know what to do. And number three was, once you've identified these events to go to, you know how to position your value. You need to know what is the best way to participate at the event that's going to make you the most money. Should you be an attendee, right? If you're just starting out, maybe that's the way to do it. Or you're not sure if the event is worth the money yet as a sponsor or speaker, then go check it out as an attendee. And then master sales at the events. Once you know how to do that, you know how to master sales at the events, then you're ready to up level to doing some big sponsorships and speaking, right? There's another bonus tip, right?
Absolutely.
If you don't know how to close sales at the event or just after the event, you might not be ready to really pay for a big sponsorship or speaking opportunities. So, but again, the final one is, you got to know what's the best way for you to participate at an event, because not all events are created equal. There's
Right. No.
different strategies you want to take versus different events. So you got to know how to say, okay, this event I'm going to speak at, but then this other event, maybe it's better for me to sponsor. So you have to know how to determine that.
I love it. And then I personally like to go to events as an attendee first before I do anything further with it. That's my
Yeah.
first initial investment. I feel like that's like the trial offer, right? That I do
Mm-hmm.
with events to make sure, like, are these my people?
Yeah.
Can I like, and then the next time they see me, they're like, wow, this guy's like, he was an attendee last time and now he's up there, like, so I
Mm-hmm.
like to do something like that. But I completely agree with what you're saying. Like, find the most profitable way sense for you to
Right.
be able to attend an event, whether that be just an attendee, speaker, sponsor, and one of those three there. So what would you say if we wanted to kind of learn more about events and how to qualify them, and then of course that ninja secret of, like, inviting them to like to the next stage later on, like an after hours type of meeting deal. I love that, by the way. But
Yeah.
where would you say we could learn more about it from you?
Well, I would go to www.cashfromconferences.com. So all spelled the normal way, conferences with an S,
Yeah.
cashfromconferences.com. And when you go there, there'll be an opportunity for you to download 7 questions to qualify conferences and save $7,000. So I list out 7 questions, and I guarantee 99% of business owners don't know all these questions. They're not asking them.
Yeah, no, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's 7 questions listed there that you need to do when you are looking at an event, whether you want to be an attendee, a sponsor, or a speaker. You have to get the answers to these questions before you agree to it. Otherwise, you're going to waste your time and your money.
Yeah, I bet. And I'm sure, like, I have so many more questions, but I know we're running out of time here. So I feel like we could talk about this for hours. So
for sure.
Definitely go to, and what was that link again?
It was www.cashfromconferences.com.
Awesome. So we'll go there. We'll get the 7 questions to qualify events to make sure that they're going to be worth it for us from a business perspective. And if not, always just attend. Is just check it out yourself, I feel would be a great start. And definitely reach out to Alexis here. She's a master at this. She's given me so much helpful information already. And just the previous conversations we've had today. I'm going to start using that ninja trick, by the way, the next event I go to. So I'm going to start doing that. But now, before we finish up here, so if you're serious about generating never-ending leads, going over to ventobot.com/book to get the book. We take our private clients through 4 phases to generate never-ending leads. We take all our clients through these 4 phases to make sure that they are maximizing on what they're doing. For example, if you're going to an event, you're sponsoring speaking, you want to make sure that you have a way to follow up with these people, right? You close your business at the event, but then there's a way to maximize it on the back end as well. So make sure you go there to get the book. We'll cover shipping. We'll send it right over to you. And thank you again, Alexis, for coming on today on the Don't Kill the Messenger podcast. And look forward to talking to you some more.
Thanks, Victor. I appreciate it.
All right. I'll see you.
Bye-bye.